What is up, party people? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jamila. This is JemilaBeReadin, because I do be reading. And hello, how y'all doing? It's been a minute. Classic me. Really nothing new here. I do feel like I haven't really sat down to film a video in a very long time. So pardon me if I'm a little awkward doing this. I'm getting my groove back, okay? So as you can probably see, well, probably not. I'm just in front of my bookshelves right now. I did move. I did move this year, so I'm in a different locale. I'm still trying to figure out where I want to film in my new apartment and what I'm doing. For now, I'm here. But yeah, this first quarter of the year has been really busy. I was getting ready to move, then I moved, and then I was unpacking, work was busy, a lot of stuff was going on. And in February, I found myself in a really big reading slump. So I haven't been feeling very inspired to make content, but I miss talking about books with y'all, so here I am. I want to do a January and February reading wrap up, talk to y'all about what I've been reading, which, again, I've been in a slump, so it's not that many books. But I feel like I'm getting my groove back in March. Hopefully, my March wrap-up will be a little bit more robust. I am trying to get back into doing monthly wrap-ups. I know last year I pretty much did not do, I think I did one monthly wrap-up, and that was about it. And I miss talking about books every month. I feel like I remember what I'm reading more when I'm talking about it with y'all every month. So I want to try to do monthly wrap-ups again, if not every other month, if maybe there's just a month that's a little bit light. But in any case, I'm rambling now. So let's talk about the books that I read in January and February. Okay, I do feel like I started off 2026 strong. The first book that I read and finished was On Sundays, She Picked Flowers by Yaya Schofield, or Schofield, I'm not quite sure how it's pronounced. This is an art copy that I got from the publisher. It's been a while since I actually finished an arc in a timely fashion. In any case, I read this one. This is a Southern Gothic historical horror book that's following our main character Judith. This is set I want to say in the 50s or 60s, and it spans decades. Judith is our main character at the start of this book. She's a 40-year-old woman. She's living with her really abusive mother, and then something happens. And Judith finds herself running away and finding this kind of abandoned, a bit dilapidated house in the middle of these woods. Everyone kind of thinks it's haunted, and she takes up residence there, and there maybe happens to be ghosts and haints in this house, and she kind of coexists with them, and then she kind of becomes this wilderness woman, this magic woman, and then she meets another woman, and some interesting things happen. It was a really interesting book. I really enjoyed this one. If you're someone who's a fan of Gothics, I think you'll like this one. It has a very slow, haunting feel to it. I think the author did a really good job of setting us in the time period and the space that we're in. I really did feel like I was there in the book. It is sapphic, just saying. I think that's a plus as well. So yeah, I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I do recommend it. It's pretty short. I feel like I got through this really quickly, and it was a good time. I will say definitely check out content warnings. I'll have my usual booktriggerwarnings.com, and you can go on Storygraph as well to check out the content warnings on this one. It's pretty gruesome. I'll say there are times where it's pretty bloody. There's some body horror stuff as well, and yeah, it was a little bit intense at times, but overall I really enjoyed this one. And then after that, I read The Long Game by Rachel Reed. This is technically the 6th book in the Game Changers like interconnected series, but it's a direct sequel to Heated Rivalry. So this is a continuation of Shane and Ilya's story, like about a year and a half after the events of Heated Rivalry. Continuing to follow their relationship as they're, kind of hiding this situation that they find themselves in. I would say it's like a lot of the same as Heated Rivalry, except a little bit different. I don't know how to I don't know how to explain it. I liked this one. I didn't like it as much as Heated Rivalry. I think it's very clear, and I don't remember if I mentioned this when I talked about Heated Rivalry in my favorites video, but it feels very clear to me, especially in this book, that Rachel Reed favors Ilya. Shane just continues to feel like a little bit of an underdeveloped character to me, and it's like very glaringly obvious in this book. I think because I read Heated Rivalry shortly after watching the show, I was transposing a lot of the show onto the book in some ways, and I do think the show develops Shane a lot better than the book does. And I think, Jacob Tierney and also the actor Hudson Williams, I don't know why I just blanked there, I think like give a lot to that character than Rachel Reed did in my opinion. And because there is a lot of the heart of the story is like this emotional tug between the both of them, and how they have to hide things, and maybe how they're dealing with the fact that they're being forced to hide their relationship. We just see how that affects Ilya more than Shane in some ways. I feel like I'm losing my train of thought here. But yeah, I feel like Shane is not as developed in here. This is a little bit of a spoiler and also a trigger warning for discussions of eating disorders. I do think Shane has an eating disorder. I know Rachel Reed said that was not how she meant to like write that, and that he doesn't. It feels very clear to me in his mannerisms and how he's acting around food that he has some disordered eating, and I just don't like how that was handled. There's just a lack of nuance and emotional depth to Shane, and there's a lot of emotional depth and nuance to Ilya, which is great. I just want the same for Shane. Anyways, I liked this one mainly because I just like seeing them together, but the outside factors of the book of this story left a lot to be desired for me. So I don't actually know what I rated this one, if I even rated it at all. Yeah, I didn't end up rating this one, but I think I would maybe give it like a 3.75 maybe. I don't know. It's kind of hard because again, it just like they all kind of clump together with Heated Rivalry. But yeah, if I just take it as it is and look at it as its own book with its own story, I do like it, but there was a lot that I also didn't like. So sorry, that was a little bit all over the place. After that, I ended up reading The Apothecary Diaries Volume 2, the light novel. I became absolutely obsessed with the anime last year, and I am just so sad that we're gonna have to wait a while for season 3, and I was like, I need more. So I decided I was just gonna read the light novels and start from the beginning. So I read volume 1 at some point last year. I read volume 2, and I'll just go ahead and talk about volume 3 as well because I read both of those this year so far. I can't give you a lot of spoilers, I guess, again, because it's sequels in a series. But if you're unfamiliar with what The Apothecary Diaries is, it's following this young girl named Momo. We're in this kind of like historical time period that's kind of a mix of like ancient China and also kind of ancient Japan, but like it's not set in any specific time period, and it kind of like smushes a lot of various dynasties and time periods together. But let's just say a vague historical time period where there's like an emperor, and Momo is an apothecary, meaning she knows how to use herbs and plants to create medicine and heal people. And she's also extremely sharp and clever and really observant. And she gets that from her father that raised her. And so at the beginning of the story, she gets kidnapped basically and sold. And she is at first a laundress for the rear palace, which is where the consorts for the emperor live. And then because of her observational and apothecary skills, she ends up becoming a more like lady's maid to one of the major consorts. And then she gets kind of entangled with this other guy and all of these mysteries, and she's like solving things, and it's a really fun time. It's so good and so funny. And so yeah, that's the basic premise of this series. I was a little bit hesitant to read the light novels. I just haven't had a lot of great experience with light novels in the past. Granted, the ones that I've read have been like offshoots of like manga. So like I read a few like Naruto related light novels and they weren't that good. So I think because this one started off as a light novel series first, I think I'm having a better time with it because of that. And it's fun. It reads very easily. It is a very, the anime is a very close adaptation of the light novels, I'll say. Like, I'm like picturing, because I think the first 4 volumes have been adapted into season 1 and 2. And I'm like literally just picturing everything from the anime. It's like a very faithful adaptation. So I'm having a great time. I'm not really rating these, but know that I'm enjoying them. And I do recommend both the anime and the light novel. After that, we hit my first 5-star of the read, and my only 5-star so far, and that is Perfect Victims in the Politics of Appeal by Mohammed El-Kurd. This is a nonfiction book by Mohammed El-Kurd, who is a Palestinian journalist, and he is just talking about Palestine, the ongoing genocide of Palestine, and how who is considered a victim in our society, and how we talk about various types of victims and how there is no perfect victim. He focuses a lot on how Palestinians have had to deal with a lack of humanity, not just during this current phase of the genocide, but throughout the last 75 years of occupation, and how, you know, even just like, I feel like there's been a lot of conversation around this in the last few years about how news articles will use specific words depending on who they're talking about. So let's say Israel bombs a hospital in Gaza. He'll say, an article will be like, in the West will say something like, oh, like bomb finds its way into a hospital or something like that, and how it doesn't talk about a perpetrator, it doesn't say who it's coming from, it just kind of makes it seem like, oh, this thing like just happened, versus, you know, let's say like an Israeli or some other Western person is killed, like the perpetrator is directly named in the headline. And you see that a lot too here, talking about, you know, when a black person is murdered by the police, black person is dead, or just individual is dead, and you're like, what happened? But, you know, let's say there's some white victim, and it's like you're given their name, you're told exactly what happens in the headline, and just those kinds of things that happens in the news, and just like how we're presenting information about things that are happening in the world. So I just thought it was really great. I think Mohammed El-Kurd is also a poet, and I think I actually own his poetry collection. If I'm not mistaken, he's the one who wrote Rivka. So again, I stand by this is my theory of poets write some of the best, like fiction and nonfiction. But he's just like has such a way with words, and it's just so engaging, and he's such a beautiful writer. So I highly, highly recommend this one. I think it's applicable not only to understand more about the ongoing genocide in Palestine, but just like how we are observing the world and how we're taking in information and news. So highly recommend. I gave that one a 5-star. After that, I read another manga. This was actually a reread for me. This was volume 1 of A Sign of Affection. It's just following, it's like a very like romance slice of life manga. It's following Yuki, who's a college student. She's deaf, and she ends up meeting this guy who loves to learn languages and travels a lot. He speaks a lot of languages, and he wants to learn sign language. And so they kind of become friends, and I think it's gonna turn into a romance. Like, the romance hasn't happened yet, but it's really cute. I do want to continue more. I think I've actually read the first 3 volumes, if I'm not mistaken. It's just been a while, so I definitely want to continue on with this. I feel like I'm getting like pulled into a lot of manga this year, so I think I need to really just like focus on a series at a time instead of just like reading a ton at the same time. But I don't really have much to say about this one. It's super slice of life. Like, it's really no plots, just vibes. The art is really pretty, and it's just a really cute story. So yeah, I think I gave this one like a 4-star the first time I read it. I would stick with that, although I have a hard time giving star ratings to things like manga and light novels, just because it feels like, more than other like regular novel series, it all feels like one big thing. It's easier for me to like individually rate and review like each book in a regular series, because it feels like more of a cohesive thing, versus with manga it feels like the entire project is one thing rather than each individual volume, if that makes sense. So anyways, I like The Sign of Affection. If you're looking for like a cute romance manga, check that one out. For the little book club that I have with a few of my friends, our first book of the year was The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. This has been a popular series for a long time. They recently just made a movie out of this book as well. It's like a series of like cozy mysteries following these 4 elderly individuals who live in this like retirement community, and this like one detective, and they're like solving a crime. In this first book, they're trying to solve a murder. It's a little all over the place. I listened to the audiobook. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't like as locked in as I probably should have been. I found this one a little boring to get through, I'm not gonna lie. I tried reading it with my eyes. I switched over to the audiobook because I was just having a hard time with it. And I thought it was fine. Like, I'm not going to continue. I don't know that I necessarily recommend this one. If this is your genre of choice and you tend to like cozy mysteries, I don't know that I love cozy mysteries all that much. But I guess check this one out. It's really popular. I know a lot of people love this one. So I'm not dissuading you from picking it up if it's your cup of tea. But for me, I found it kind of boring. I thought it was also kind of just confusingly put together. It was jumping from perspective and time and form in a weird way. Like, I kind of like when books do kind of weird stuff with the formatting of a book, but this just, I had a hard time following. Just had a hard time following what was going on. I thought it wrapped up a little bit too neatly, but I guess that's just maybe par for the course for cozy mysteries. But yeah, I gave this one like a 3-star. In reality, it's maybe a 2-star now that I'm thinking about it, but it is what it is. Like, I'm probably never going to think about this book ever again. So, and then I finished up January with volume 3 of Apothecary Diaries, which I already talked about before. But yeah, love this series. I'm having a great time. Can't wait to continue. And then we're brought to February, in which I only read 2 books. And it was 2 volumes of manga. So yeah, February was a rough time reading wise for me. I was like in such a slump. I was not feeling compelled to pick up any books at all. To be fair, I was doing a lot of unpacking in February. I hadn't put up my books yet, so there wasn't a lot for me to grab. So the 2 volumes of manga that I read were, I have them here actually still. I got them from my library. Volumes 9 and 10 of Dandadan. I caught up with the anime in February or at the end of January. I had already seen season 1, but I rewatched it and then watched season 2 finally, and I was just like, damn, I just want more. So I decided to get the volumes of manga from my library. I have more on my little like cart thing that I recently got. It's so cute. I love it. But anyways, this, if you're unfamiliar with this series, it's a shonen like fantasy sci-fi story that's following, do you know what in Apothecary Diaries her name is not Momo, it's Mao Mao. I got confused because the main female character in this series is Momo. That's my bad. Mao Mao is the main character of Apothecary Diaries. Momo is one of the main characters in Dandadan. So we're following Momo and Okarun. They are teenagers. They're in a high school. Momo grew up with her grandmother, who is kind of like a medium. So she grew up with a lot of like beliefs around like ghosts and spirits and that kind of stuff. And Okarun is kind of an otaku. He is like super into like sci-fi, alien, like believes aliens exist, all that stuff. And at the beginning of this story, they kind of come into contact with each other and end up trying to prove the other person wrong. So Okarun goes to this like haunted tunnel that's known to have like a spirit in it, like an evil spirit, and Momo ends up going to some abandoned building that has aliens or something like that. And throughout that process, they realize that both exist, both aliens and like spirits and all of these things exist, and they end up getting powers through this process. I won't go too in it. And do I really want to explain all of this? Okarun, he ends up getting like possessed by this evil spirit, and his, let's say, earthly jewels get taken, and he has to find them. So that's kind of happening in the background. It's kind of really devolved from there. It's there's like so many other things going on now, but they are kind of trying to do that while fending off attacks from like spirits and monsters and aliens, and they're like slowly making more friends who are like getting involved in all of this, and it's a laugh. Like I think it's really funny. There's, you know, fan servicey things about this that I don't like, but it hasn't hit a point where it felt egregious to me. I think for the most part, I do think it's still funny and mostly appropriate. But you know, with anime and manga, it gets a little dicey sometimes, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I still think about the time I wasted watching Fire Force. Like, that is the most egregious fan service I've ever seen in my life. It was garbage. But in any case, there's some like kind of gross fan servicey stuff happening in the series, but I'd say for the most part it's fine. I really like the relationship between Momo and Okarun. I'm just waiting for them to get together eventually, and yeah, it's fun. I'm having a good time reading this. I think the anime is really cool. It's like really well animated. It's a really fun style, and yeah, I recommend the anime and the manga. It's a good time. And that is pretty much everything that I read so far, at least in January and February. I've read 2 other books so far in March, which is great. Already doing better than February. So I'm hoping to come back to you guys at the end of March, beginning of April, with a March wrap up with some fun and exciting books to talk about. I'm still trying to think about like what I want to do with this channel. I'm not gonna lie, there was a moment where I was like, what about if I just stopped doing this altogether? I just was feeling like a lack of creative spark. But I feel like I'm starting to get it back. But, you know, with work being very busy for me and, you know, having an active social life, I feel like, you know, it's a little bit harder for me to create content around reading because I need the time to read. So I'm just trying to figure out what it is I want to do on here. Like, I don't know if maybe I want to start vlogging, but I also feel like my life is pretty boring and I don't know that I want to like show everything in my life. So I don't know. We'll see. I think maybe I'll you know, incorporate some like individual book reviews, and I still want to do like themed reading vlogs and stuff like that. So you know, let me know what you like seeing from booktube. Let me know what you just like seeing from content creators in general, what kind of videos you want to see from me. But with that, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for listening to me ramble. Again, I'm getting back into things, so sorry if I'm a little awkward, but hope y'all have a good one, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.